Vamos a presentarles en la siguiente sesión, que pasaría como la número 13. En estos momentos vamos a recibir a Mehdy Touil, que es especialista en operaciones LNG, Solaris Canadá. Nos va a presentar un análisis de proyectos de FLNG en crecimiento con enfoques tecnológicos y además oportunidades emergentes para mejorar la eficiencia operativa.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm honored to be here today to talk about one of the most innovative solutions proposed for the LNG industry, so floating energy, FLNG. My name is Mehdy Touil. I'm an LNG operations specialist at Solaris MCI. I have more than 2 decades of experience in liquefaction side of the industry. If you know me on LinkedIn, you probably also know that I have been covering LNG news for more than 10 years with a lot of passion. Our group of companies at Solaris provide energy solutions, front-end development, EPC management, R&D, up to operations, commissioning, startup services, including training. So thank you, Kenna, for inviting me to this event. It's a very important month for the LNG industry. If you know, I guess my friends at Technip Energy knows that date very well. It's been 60 years since we exported first LNG cargo from Algeria in 1964, in October 7. I'm Algerian, so I'm representing my country today. So my topic today, I will cover the main differences between onshore facilities and floating ones. I will give you a brief overview of the existing units across the globe. We'll review also the future projects, and I will close my presentation with the emerging trends. So I really like this picture for the people who are not familiar with the FLNG facilities. On the left, you have the 3.8 million tons per annum Tangguh LNG Train 3 in Indonesia, developed by British Petroleum, with Saipem, Chiyoda, and Tripatra in the EPC role. On the right, you have the Coral South FLNG, or Sul in Portuguese, located offshore Mozambique, developed by ENI and its partners, and with my good friend at Technip Energies, JGC and Samsung in the EPC role. So those are 2 similar facilities with the same capacity range, but with key differences from construction, design, and execution perspective. Tangguh LNG Train 3 is a typical stick-built configuration for an LNG train. It's a C3MR train. So in the middle, you have a long pipe rack covered by a large number of air coolers, flanked by processing units and equipment on both sides. You don't see other units that are required to support the facility. You don't see the whole facilities. You don't see the utilities. You don't see the flare, and obviously you don't see the storage tanks. If you look at the other picture, Coral FLNG, so it has adopted the full modular construction design. You have topside installed on top of a new built hull. It includes gas treatment units, inlet processing, dehydration, acid gas removal, refrigeration, liquefaction. You can see the flares, you have the facilities, other facilities on board like utilities, power generation, water treatment. Inside the hull, you have very important 8 storage tanks with a combined capacity of more than 230,000 cubic meters, and also storage for condensate for 50,000 cubic meters. Most importantly also, you have the living quarters for up to 350 persons. It's the first deep sea FLNG facility. It's an engineering dream, but also an engineering nightmare to design. So the different variants, this is not an official classification. This is just to show you what are the different types that can be classified. I hope my friend at the American Bureau of Shipping, Terrence, won't mind my classification. So you can divide the different variants based on the nature of the feed gas they treat, either raw gas, like Coral FLNG, pre-processed gas from an FPSO, like Gimme FLNG, network pipe gas, like Cedar FLNG. The location also. So you have deep water facilities, nearshore facilities, shallow waters, like Altamira FLNG. The construction, so it could be a conversion from all the carrier, most type, like Gimme FLNG. It could be a new build, like Coral, like Cedar. So we have different variants. This is a 3D render of the Cedar FLNG project developed by Pembina and the Iceland Nation in British Columbia, Canada. Solaris is providing support for this project on the owner engineering side and detail engineering as well. The facility was recently FID'd, and the EPC was awarded to Black & Veatch and Samsung. So, like my friend Shoyan said before, we have 7 operating units at the moment, hopefully 8 by the end of the year. It all started with the Petronas FLNG1, or SATU in Bahasa. It was followed by the conversion, the first conversion, the Cameroon FLNG, the Hilly EPCO, deployed by Golar in Cameroon. After that, we have the kings, really the king of all FLNG unit, so Prelude FLNG, developed by Shell, which is to this date the largest floating facility ever built across all industries, not only LNG. After that, Petronas came up with a slightly improved version for the PFLNG, so PFLNG Dua in Bahasa 2. Coral Sul, 2 years ago, successful startup. And as Maria explained before, the story of Tango FLNG, so now part of the Marine 12 Phase 1 on the behalf of ENI in Africa. Last month, our friends at New Fortress Energy celebrated the successful first loading for the fast LNG in Altamira, Mexico. And hopefully before the end of the year, Senegal and Mauritania will celebrate the first drop for the Great Tortue Ahmeyim project in Africa. So again, based on the discussion of the previous panel, ENI is quite active in Africa with 2 projects. So phase 2 of the Marine 12 project, Congo FLNG 2 being built currently in China by Wison. Coral FLNG Norte, similar capacity to Coral FLNG South, same location, a deep sea facility as well. Golar is working, has already issued a notice to proceed to Black & Veatch for its 3rd floater. Petronas as well is working on the 3rd floater called ZLNG. It's a nearshore facility. Private developer, Genting from Malaysia is working on another solution, nearshore as well. And as mentioned earlier, we had the Cedar LNG facility in Canada. There are other projects at different phases of development. We have Xilisim LNG, similar to Cedar LNG in Canada. You have a project developed with a private group in Nigeria, UTM Offshore. You have Delphin LNG for many years. They have been trying to launch their project with 4 floaters. There are other projects that are coming up in the news, like in Argentina. Yesterday, a new project came up on the radar. A pre-FEED was awarded to Wison for a FLNG vessel in Papua New Guinea for Kumul Petroleum. So there are many projects in the line. Yes, liquefaction technology. I often get asked this question, what is the best liquefaction technology? The best liquefaction technologies, there is no best. There is no definitive answer. It's all project specific. If you look at the simplicity, you want a simple process to operate and lower upfront cost, you can go for a nitrogen expansion cycle. Preco from Black & Veatch is also a good solution, easy to operate with a lower capex. But if you want to consider the high efficiency and for large-scale trains, large-scale capacity, you need to go with the cascade cycles. So cascade cycle, you don't have many options. You have the C3MR from Air Products, now Honeywell. You have the Linde MFC, multi-fluid cascade, or the optimized cascade from ConocoPhillips. Currently, the most used onshore license is the C3MR, propane pre-cooled. It is the de facto go-to solution for large-scale onshore facilities, but it's not suitable for FLNG facilities. Why? So the pre-cooling loop of this process comes with a large number of equipment and with a significant inventory of propane refrigerant, which is not something you want on top of an FLNG facility. So that's why dual MR, so dual mixed refrigerant solutions are preferred for their efficiency, like the Shell variant for Prelude FLNG, or the Air Products, sorry, Honeywell for the Coral FLNG and Coral South and Coral North FLNG. So if you look at the change for, with regards to the future projects, initially the industry went from an exploratory mode. They started looking at single MR, dual MR, nitrogen expansion cycles. But now, as we are moving forward, we are going to mix a healthy mix of, I would say, Preco and IPSMR from Chart. Recently, there was a strategic partnership announced between Wison and Chart at the gas deck. But apart from Coral Norte, which is under construction, I don't see any new DMR project that I'm aware of. And as an operator, I would prefer to see more of those. They are highly efficient, although they come with the complexity, but on the long term, they bring large benefits. So what are the main challenges that define the design of an FLNG facility? So the first thing that comes to mind when talking about something floating, especially for large units, it's the sea motion. So sea motion, you have to consider it not only for non-cyclonic, what they call non-cyclonic conditions, like the prevailing wind, the current, the height of the waves, but also for cyclonic extreme conditions to which the hull, the topside, the equipment on board, and all the associated piping are subject to. So there are dynamic loads that will exert very high forces on the units. You have also to keep in mind the process control. So every unit that is controlled will be subject to motion. You will have level fluctuating. You have some flows, fluids subject to motion. Your rotating machinery, so turbine, pumps, compressors, anything that rotates will be subject to motion. So it will affect their balance, the vibration levels, even lube oil flows. So this is something you have to account for. Sloshing, yesterday we have a very nice presentation from Aziz from GTT, so I want to go over that. So another challenge is the managing space. So as you know, space is quite limited on board an FLNG unit. So you need to bring the right balance between the module complexity, weight control, safety layout in terms of safety requirement. You have also to think about your shipyard capabilities. Are they able to deliver? Do they have a wide enough dock to build your facility? Do they have the required cranes and so on? Not only that, you have to include marine standards into your design. That will add a layer of complexity to your layout because you have to take into account the safety requirements, including emergency responses procedures. So the drive selection, another very important factor to consider for your design. So this is the PGT 24 plus G4. It is an aeroderivative turbine. It looks like an aviation engine because it is derived from one of the most popular aviation engines in the industry. It is the most used on board all the projects right now. And I have seen it still coming up on the future project as well. Why? It's lightweight. It has high thermal efficiency. It comes with the modular design, so easy to maintain. And it is, because it's an aviation engine, it is well adapted to motion. This is in contrast to the heavy-duty turbine used onshore. After that, you have the LM6000. It's being deployed to 2 projects currently. You have the most powerful aeroderivative available in the market, the LM9000 from Baker Hughes. This one was initially deployed for the Arctic LNG 2 project in Russia, the GBS. And it will be deployed on Petronas Z LNG project. There is an exception to this to this popularity of the aeroderivative type. So Prelude LNG is exclusively using steam turbine for power generation and for driving their compressors. There is also another exception. So for the near-shore facilities like Cedar LNG, Xylicim LNG, that have the ability to be connected to the grid, they can get rid of the gas turbine and use electric motors. There are limitations to using electric motors on floating LNG. There are weight limitations, of course, and there is the large footprint associated with the variable speed drive and all the associated systems. If you get rid of the gas turbine and you replace them with electric motors, you need to factor in that you are eliminating one of the main sources of process heating, so the waste heat recovery units that are installed in the exhaust stack of the turbines. So if you eliminate the turbines, you need to replace those heat exchangers with gas-fired sources like furnaces or boilers. So sloshing, again, it's you have very strict filling ratios to operate on with this type of containment system, especially the membrane type. It's an issue for FLNG because the facility is constantly producing LNG and offloading LNG. So you cannot stay within the safe range. That's why the providers like GTT have come up with solutions like reinforcing the areas with the higher probability of impact, using a different shape for the tanks, and gathering different configuration in terms of the layout of the tanks and their number. So this is what a typical LNG liquefaction will look onshore, especially the C3MI variant. So you have a large number of air coolers on top. So for air cooling, you have two solutions for cooling in liquefaction facility, either air cooling or seawater cooling. So there is differentiation between the two methods. So air cooling is subject to the ambient temperature change that could affect your production rate. It is also it comes with a higher capex because there is, as you can see, a large number of fin-fan air coolers required. Yes, but if you look at seawater, yes, seawater has a lower capex, lower OPEX as well. It has a minimal footprint, but you need to factor in environmental considerations. So for deep sea water, like Coral FLNG, they're sourcing their cooling water from the depth, I don't know, I believe 150 meters. So the temperature is steady throughout the year, so it's not an issue for production. But there is the consideration from environmental perspective that the water that you return after use to the sea should not be hot. So you need to maintain the delta T between surface water and the processed water return. So that could be an issue. It's an issue, in fact, for nearshore facilities or shallow water facilities because they are sourcing the seawater from the surface and they're returning that water at a hotter temperature. So you have to consider local regulation for that. Biofouling, so you have to limit the growth of a marine organism within your seawater loop. That could be a concern, again, for an environmental perspective. So the emerging trends, yes, the speed to market, the ability to unlock stranded assets, having nearshore facilities to limit the land footprint are features that are often used for selling FLNG projects, but FLNG projects are extremely complex ventures from a design perspective, from a technology perspective. It's not as easy as it seems. It's not as cost effective as it seems if you factor in the pre-treatment phase of that project. So right now we are looking at a healthy mix of pre-CO and IPSMR dominating the next wave of future LNG projects. But I would love to see more DMR variants. For the drive for compression and power generation, again dominated by the aeroderivative gas turbines, except for the nearshore facilities. The construction, so still we are looking at conversion. It's still a bankable asset. We are looking at new builds also. And most important, I would like to highlight this fact that beyond the technology selection, you need to look at the the EPC and the partnerships between the EPC and the licensors, which is a key factor. So you want to look at the proven track record for your partners on that project. So I would like to mention Technip, JGC, and Samsung, Black & Veatch and Samsung, and recently Wison and Chart. So I think those kind of partnerships based on known partners will bring more success to the development of the next wave of LNG projects. So we recently opened a new office in Mexico. So if you need end-to-end energy solutions, or training services, commissioning, operation as well, for your FLNG project or LNG project, feel free to reach out. And thank you very much.